Recently I made the decision to bob out my 2008 Honda Shadow Aero 750. Last time we cut the frame, so there's no going back now. But today, we're going to go over how I installed my Blue Collar Bobber's rear fender. Now this is a quality kit and comes with everything you need for a direct bolt-on experience. Now we will be deviating slightly though, because we will not be using the bracket that holds the left side of the fender to the bike. That's because I want to use this inexpensive license plate bracket I found on old Amazon. Since this license plate mount is going to take the place of this bracket, and we need the bracket to mount the fender to the bike, we need to go ahead and mark and drill a hole so that it's compatible. First thing we're going to do is take the swing arm bracket and slide it into place. Now this can get a little tricky because you're trying to hold 4 different things at once, but from here you take the bolt, slide it up from underneath, and loosely tighten the nut on top. Now when tightening these down, you don't want to go too crazy. You want it tight, but you don't want it so tight to where you start bending the metal. Once we have that snug down, we want to check our alignment. Now, right now we're kind of centered on the middle of the tire. What we want to do is scooch it over to the left just a hair. That'll give us a little bit more adjustment range when we go to put the fender on. Now that should be perfect. Moving to the right side of the bike, we're going to go ahead and mount the fender bracket. Now this is going to sandwich on the axle itself. I guess that's part of the axle, could be a tube for all I know, I'm not a mechanic. Installation is super easy, and what I did was I tightened each side down a little bit at a time, just to make sure torque was evenly distributed and I got a good connection. Make sure your bracket is parallel with the swing arm. This will ensure that the angle is correct. On the left side of the bike, we're going to install our license plate bracket, and the first step is to remove the axle nut. And holy crap guys, even with a 1/2 inch drive ratchet, that thing was not moving. And even though it still took a little bit of effort, that thing was no match for this 3-foot breaker bar. Now the bracket from Blue Collar Bobbers for the left side of the bike has a notch cut out where it kind of lines itself up with that little ridge. So what we're going to do now is kind of eyeball where that bolt hole is, so when we go to put our license plate bracket on, we got everything lined up at the right angle. And when we think we have it lined up pretty good, we can go ahead and remove the bracket from Blue Collar Bobber's kit and slide our license plate bracket on and tighten the axle nut down. Keep in mind, just keep everything a little loose until everything's in place. And I don't know about you guys, but the burrs on the side of that bracket were kind of bugging the crap out of me. Alright, so next we'll be putting on the fender. So the bolt here on the front, that's what's going to slide into the channel from the swing arm bracket we installed earlier. Now if you'll notice, there was a nut that was sitting closer to the fender. It was in the kit and it threaded on there, so I don't know if it was a mistake or if they changed something in the kit, but if you watch their video, Blue Collar Bobbers, they actually use a washer. So I ended up not using that second nut, we just used the black nylock. So go ahead and tighten down that nut, but make sure you leave it a little loose until we get the fender fully adjusted. Then we're going to install the fender brace on the left side of the bike. So at the top of the strap, there is a captive nut. So these screw in with a Phillips head at the top, and it's going to be a nut and bolt down at the bottom. Now the bracket that came with the kit, this brace actually attaches on the outside, but because we can't do that because we're using the license plate bracket, we're going to mount it to the inside. And then you do the same thing on the right side of the bike. Now I forgot to mention this earlier. These fender braces, the slotted section goes to the brackets that are located, down at the bottom of the bike. That's going to give you your height adjustment to make sure everything clears your tire. Now these are angled slightly different, so they are side specific. I would definitely recommend watching the Blue Collar Bobbers installation video at least 3 or 4 times before doing this. Otherwise you'll end up like me and have to do it twice. With everything snugged, we can go ahead and check our clearances. So basically I just kind of ran my finger underneath the side of the fender and the tire, and I figured as long as I can fit my finger in there, we should be good. And then once the fender's aligned where you want it, next step is to just tighten everything down. Don't forget that axle nut either, because that would be a bad day. Alright, that's it. We're done. And honestly, I am extremely blown away. And I cannot speak highly enough of the Blue Collar Bobbers rear fender kit. This is top-notch quality, 100%. And I am extremely happy with the way things worked out. Personally, I think it looks fantastic. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if for some reason you missed me cutting the frame on this machine, well, you can check out that video right here. And as always, y'all, be good. See ya!